Gotcha.
Deep in the mountains of southeast Oklahoma walks a living legend. According to local residents of the tiny rural town of Hanobi,
these creatures are a lot smarter than we give them credit for.
I didn't know what it was. What was throwing rocks at me?
The face that I saw could have been that close.
But I don't ever know what you're going to run into in these woods. They're wild.
So you got to see it first before you believe it.
I'd sure like to see it, wouldn't you?
One local eyewitness claims to have shot at and hit a hairy man-like creature that continually terrorized the family home.
Trying to get in the house and beating on the walls, he knew why the iron bars were on the windows.
The Encounters team has come to investigate this startling case and others in an attempt to document creatures known as the Oklahoma Wildman.
In the last 2 years in this area have all indicated they've heard the responses come back.
So we're right in their backyard.
That's my opinion. This is their backyard, yes.
Cryptozoologist by profession and driven by her own mysterious encounter, Autumn Williams travels the world.
Thousands of people can't have seen something that doesn't exist. All we need is proof.
Sometimes at dawn, or the edge of dusk, there's a fleeting glimpse of an impossible sight.
Do you have it?
Did you get it? I see it.
Michael!
What's the range?
The sightings are real. The technology, cutting edge. Are you ready for mysterious encounters?
Boy, this thing stinks.
Put it right on capture.
Make it even.
Oklahoma may not come to mind when you think of large unknown creatures. However, as in many other rural locations, eyewitnesses abound.
Oh, he's big bone.
It was just so massive. That's the thing about these things. They're massive, powerful animals.
It was real. It wasn't human. It was by far not human.
Wildman sightings in this area are not a recent development. Long-term resident and eyewitness Billy Ledlow sighted a creature as a child.
We was coming home from church. There was 3 of us. And we got to the bridge, and we come across. That's when he stood up. And he was about 9 or 10 feet tall, broad-shouldered, and hairy. I ran to the house, got in the house, closed the door, and I always went under the bed.
For over 13 years, I've investigated reports of unknown animals. From New York to Washington State and now Oklahoma.
Autumn Williams is a cryptozoologist and field researcher, a specialist in the search for as yet undiscovered species.
I seen something.
And I'm convinced, you know.
There's bound to be something to it.
It's not a figment of your imagination.
It's not something normal that anybody would see like at a zoo or anything like that. It's something that I can't explain.
It's just like a bobcat. You know it lives in the woods, but just because you don't see it every day doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
We hear hoot owls, coyotes, panthers, and everything, and we know what they sound like. But this is different.
Many eyewitnesses are avid outdoorsmen and women who have knowledge of local wildlife. Their stories are especially difficult to discount.
Eyewitness Tina Harrison has hunted with her husband in the same area for 8 years, but not anymore.
We drove about 2 miles on our four-wheelers in past where we left our truck. We went to bed that night fairly early, and at that point my head was at the door of the tent. And I remember waking up and it was just like right in my face. There was something there, and you know, I had just woken up. It was like something stared at me long enough I woke up. So I just said in a real soft voice, "Robin, what are you doing out there?" You know, thinking it was my husband, because we were like so far away from anybody else. And so when I said that, I looked and I thought, well, that's probably not him. I just covered my head up, thinking I was in a dream, and I pulled the cover down, looked again, was still there. And the eyes, I could just remember this face staring at me. It was like just rural death. And it turned its head and looked where my husband was sleeping, and I knew his body was in the bed. I just got real scared. I remember trying to wake him up. I was screaming and crying and shaking.
Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! Wake up!
He was like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I said, there was something staring at me and it wasn't human. The face that I saw could have been that close, within a hand's reach of me. Yeah.
It scared you?
Yeah.
Often, as in this case, these creatures appear to be simply curious. However, many campers and outdoorsmen are so frightened by their encounters, they refuse to return to that same stretch of woods.
It has really affected, even our marriage, because that was a big part of our life. The hunting, the fishing, the turkey hunting. We did all that stuff, not anymore. He does it alone.
But what about when the encounter occurs closer to home? Investigator Roger Roberts was on the scene with an eyewitness shortly after they claimed to have shot a creature at their residence.
We went down initially to collect blood evidence, DNA, if it existed, from a deer kill that this animal was carrying when it was shot.
And had an encounter of his own.
You see the guys over there? They're here.
Mike, don't shoot. Mike, don't shoot. Don't shoot.
This amazing story, when mysterious encounter. In 1999, the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization received a frantic call from eyewitness Tim Humphreys, who claimed to have shot a large, hairy, upright creature. Researcher and private investigator Roger Roberts was on the scene within hours.
He said it was beating on the walls from time to time. He would see them at a distance down here in this bottom going back and forth. He said he didn't have too much of a problem with it. He knew they were here, but until they started getting up around his house, he got afraid for his family. He said, you don't understand the nature of these things. They'll be on you before you know it. When he hit it, he knew he didn't have a big enough gun. He went back in the house to get a bigger gun. We had our own interesting evening that night.
They're here. They're here. You see the eyes? You see the eyes over there? They're here.
Mike, don't shoot. Mike, don't shoot. Don't shoot. Wait, let's get the camera over here. We observed large eyes on the south side of Tim's property that evening. Tim and his brother Mike said that the creatures were back, and apparently more than one that night. Like that. I've never seen any eyes like that. They were very powerful, glowing orbs of light that just reflected back as a nocturnal animal would. It was just amazing to see that sort of thing.
But that's not all Roberts saw. In 2002, he was allowed to view what appeared to be a massive upright creature, captured by a security camera on Native American tribal land.
Below the mercury light was a dumpster where there was food that had been thrown out. It crossed this area 60, 70 feet, and maybe it wasn't more than 6 or 8 steps. The mercury vapor light was about 10 feet tall, and the creature ducked its head when it went under the light.
While Roberts was allowed to view the tape, the tribe now claims to have destroyed it.
I was disappointed that we weren't able to examine the tape. However, Roberts was able to obtain other, possibly more valuable evidence for examination.
A series of photographs were taken on the same reservation.
The series of photographs show a large, upright figure with a conical-shaped head, identical to what eyewitnesses describe.
Also found a hair sample hanging from a branch.
Let's go ahead and look at the hair. Oh my goodness. That's a lot of hair.
This would be an extraordinary amount of evidence in a criminal case. Usually you find one fiber, one hair.
If this is what we think it is, that's really
Could be
amazing.
an important key to unraveling this mystery.
The hair sample and photos will be sent to experts, with results later in the show.
I'm looking out there and I turn on my flashlight and we can't see anything but silhouettes and eyes reflecting. I'm thinking, it's just a couple of cows. Well, one of these cows stood up and put its hand on a tree and leaned on it.
Be able to get it on actual film that can be proven.
It's out there. It's just out there.
The Encounters team is about 120 miles southeast of Oklahoma City, gathering evidence that will hopefully either support or debunk the legend.
The hair sample provided to us may help provide answers to an old mystery. But now we need to find new evidence.
The photograph company has provided the team with a camera-equipped drone. that can survey a large area in a short amount of time.
So this is ideal for survey and surveillance like we want to do it?
Yes.
The siege at the Humphrey cabin occurred at a rural location. The camera drone will help us to determine if there is, in fact, enough cover for a creature to move about undetected. And will help the team have a better understanding of the lay of the land.
Look at that. See, that's perfect. Keep it right there and get a little lower if you can, please.
With the GPS and autonomous system, you can fly the same routes you did during the day at night.
This patch of woods right over here is what I'm interested in. There's some real thick trees and everything down in here.
The camcorder on board is recording everything, so.
Oop.
It's down.
To conduct proper research, we must suspend disbelief long enough to attempt to replicate the circumstances surrounding these eyewitness accounts, hopefully with similar results.
Okay, we're in a place called Novi, which is right here, and we're going to be just south of Novi.
When the BFRO was contacted, what did the family say was occurring at the property?
They were harassing the family. They were beating on the walls. They had gotten into a freezer and taken some frozen venison.
They heard this racket, and they come outside, and it was several of these big feet. They shot one of them, and the other ones picked it up and carried it off and took it with them.
The other two animals helped this thing away.
And he saw this?
He saw it, yes. I asked him what it looked like, and he replied, "Have you ever seen a black Brahma bull standing on his hind legs?"
Along with Autumn, the expedition team will include investigator Roger Roberts and several local residents.
The noise me and my brother hears up there matches Roger's sounds.
The team will need to identify the best locations for the high-tech surveillance equipment.
But right there at that trash dump, it's just getting daylight and it's foggy. I seen someone there, looked like they had an inch or two long hair on them. They weighed 350, a 400-pound man. But he went back that way. I said, someone's up here trying to scare somebody.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago I passed by the dumpsters and all the trash was thrown out of the dumpsters on the ground and scattered. And as far as I know, a dog or a wolf can't get up there. It'd have to be either a bear or a creature, you know.
We've got the Humphrey cabin down here, the cabin up in the mountains. We've got the spot where the sighting was right down there, and we've got the dump, the transfer station down there. Those are the 4 areas that I like to focus on.
So we'll set up a bait in all of those locations and a camera trap and blinds.
Although the dumpster seems like an unlikely place to set up a surveillance camera, if this creature is real, it has to eat.
Right about there.
We want one that's kind of close to the trail. The reason I wanted to put it up here is at some point it's probably going to cut across.
But we do need to kind of pay attention to trying to camouflage this stuff. This looks good. I think we're set here.
Let's take these game views and go down and maybe put a couple of them down farther on the trail here.
Special high-capacity Marantz digital recorders will allow the cameras to be left alone for longer periods of time.
Yeah, no more changing tapes in the middle of the night.
We are especially interested in this location. Owner Tim Humphreys claims a creature regularly returned looking for food, and it was not afraid of humans.
So this does look like the screen is pulled down.
I don't know what did that.
Well, who knows what did it, but...
But this is where the little girl was looking in the...
I understand she was there watching TV and looking in the window at her. She had a freezer over there, too. The thing was getting in the freezer, taking venison out of the freezer in this outbuilding.
One explanation of why the creatures were drawn to this location may be the high deer population. But it's illegal to use game meat as bait.
This is the actual freezer. This is the actual freezer.
Our bait, therefore, is a more conventional mixture of fruit and fish that we hope will attract them just the same. And we'll put the camera right there on that tree.
Perfect.
Watching the bait will be AquaView infrared cameras, and Game View still video cameras.
No, we probably get head and all. Yeah, head and all.
The team will deploy DNA traps and special pheromone chips.
That's perfect.
As well as the call blaster, all designed to attract the creature's attention.
Listen to that echo.
Now you want to listen for the return.
These sightings, they correlate with wilderness areas.
How are we looking at our time?
I heard that.
It's a barred owl.
We're fairly close to civilization here. We ought to wait and work at Big Cedar tomorrow. It's a much more promising area to do this.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed for the surveillance cams tonight.
The next promising location is in an area known as Big Cedar. This witness owns a remote hunting cabin here and claims to frequently hear strange vocalizations.
When I was up there just across the creek over here, there was two of them hollering for 30 minutes. Woke me up at 2:30 in the morning.
Well, why don't we go grab those pheromone chips and get them out first thing so that we can get that scent into the air.
These are sexual pheromone chips. They're a sexual attractant that's made from bacteria from humans and gorillas. I'm going to give you 3 of these. I'd like it to come right up to the chip and be able to see it coming up to the chip.
Just one click, that's all you gotta do. And then that thing goes on.
Again, the team saturates the area with infrared cameras, DNA traps, and pheromone chips. The call blaster is set up.
The plan is to have Roger Roberts blast calls from the cabin's porch, while I and other team members spread out at remote locations.
Surveillance teams, please stand by. We're going to start the call blasting.
Yes, I'm in place and ready to go.
Yeah, I've got you.
Team member and wildlife biologist Mario Benassi will attempt to record any response from a tree stand, while Vladimir is posted deeper in the forest in a ground blind.
Pretty scary here.
No, it's great. It's interesting how they wait to respond. Coyotes or wolves or whatever they are.
The Mysterious Encounters team has spent the past week in LaFleur County, Oklahoma, in an attempt to collect evidence of hairy man-like creatures known as the Oklahoma Wildman. What about the strange call heard by the team members? Mario Benassi, team member and wildlife biologist.
I heard a howl that sounded somewhat like a wolf, but was odd for a wolf call. There are not reportedly wolves in this part of Oklahoma, and so that leads me to believe that maybe this could be the unknown animal, or there are wolves where no one thought there were wolves.
Investigator Roger Roberts presented the Encounters team with existing physical evidence. A hair sample provided by a local Native American tribe has been sent to Dr. Henner Fahrenbach, a hair expert from Oregon, for analysis.
This hair matches Sasquatch hair by having the right diameter of about 50 microns and being deep reddish brown. However, it has a medulla that is about 1/3 of the diameter of the hair, the central channel of it, and that is deviant from my previous sample. So on that criterion alone, I have to reject it as Sasquatch hair until further notice.
The photos were sent to film expert Doug Hychek for review.
If the film subject is fake, it's a guy in a suit. I mean, it's not a misidentification. Well, what happens with any kind of synthetic fur, they use a black dye, but that black dye really isn't black, it's indigo, which has got kind of a bluish purple, very, very dark. But in sunlight, it tends to bring it out a little bit more. The first thing I'll do is color balance the photos, then just simply blow up the pixels until I can get at the individual pixels. And I'm going to take a little color sampling of the pixels, not only of the film subject, but the area around the film subject to objects I know that are brown, that I know that are green. There's very little blue or dark blue or purple that occurs in nature in midday. After sampling lots of different pixels, the majority of the samples were in fact indigo, purple, or blue, colors that are used in fake fur. Although color analysis like this does not prove 100% that we're looking at a person in some kind of a synthetic suit, it does, however, greatly reduce the chance that we're looking at photos of a living creature.
The mystery remains. While Dr. Fehrenbach believes the hair sample is most likely from a black bear, how do you discount all the eyewitnesses? Just what is this thing that people claim to see? Although the proof seems to be as elusive as the creature itself, there seems to be no shortage of mysterious encounters to investigate.